Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy RotoBeast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy and our boy DetroitBeastie. Chris, how you guys doing out there today?
I'm good, man. I'm
Good.
good. We got our first full game slate. There's games that are about to kick off early. I think there's 14 games today. So let's get into it, man.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely excited. The sports are back. Got a lot of really, really good things going on with the site. Got NBA coming on next week. PGA's up. We got NASCAR up. Yesterday we got a little taste of MLB. Yesterday was a perfect example of what we talk about. Don't overthink things. We knew that it was going to be the Dodgers. It was going to be the Yankees. That was going to be the stack. You sprinkle somebody else in. And sure enough, that's how it was. Yeah, man, I think baseball is one of those sports, and I know you're a firm believer, Jeremy, and the numbers don't lie. You go with the numbers, and if they're pointing one direction, just go with it. Don't try to second guess it. If you haven't already, check out the site DfsCheatSheet.com. Count. Use our promo code Restart 2020. You get all of MLB plus the rest of NBA for one price tag, $100. A couple months of DFS. All of our content, daily cash lineups. You get our optimizer. We got a ton of stuff. So, man, check it out, DfsCheatSheet.com. And, hey, man, let's jump in and talk to baseball. We got an 11-game slate today. It should be a pretty fun one for sure. You guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Hey, we're going to jump right into it. We got 11 games, like I said. Don't want to ramble on too much. First game we're going to start with, we got Miami going into Philadelphia to face the Phillies. Jeremy, I'll let you get us started with the visiting team in Miami, and we'll kind of get after it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got some new pieces here in Miami, and Chris and I did you and I did a video. We did a video of Chris and I did a video, and one of the teams that's popped up for me that I think, given the way that the NL East is lined up, I think Miami is a sneaky team. They've got some prospects. They added some pieces. They've had a guy like Garrett Cooper who was really good last year. They bring in a Jesus Aguilar. They've got some guys here, especially like a Jonathan VR that can get on base. He can steal you a base. He can be kind of a cog in the wheel for them. And they've got young pitching. So you kind of kick it off here with Alcantara. This guy was a pretty decent arm last year. And, on an 11-game slate at a price tag of $6,800, I know he's going against Philadelphia. It's not the best spot, but it's a guy that you can maybe look to in a deep tournament with 11 games. He does have strikeout upside. He finished the season off last year. In each of his last two starts, he had 37 fantasy points and 40 fantasy points. So, going 7 innings against the Mets, 6 against Philadelphia. So that was his last two starts to kind of end the season last year. This team has a lot of upside. And I think that, is tonight the night against Aaron Nola? Probably not. This is a guy that Chris has got on his short list as far as potential Cy Young candidates. But as the season gets into it, Miami's definitely going to be a team that I think you're going to be able to load up. Tonight, I don't like them as much on 11-game slate, though.
Yeah, for sure. On the Philadelphia side of things, I think it's a little bit different story. I really do like Philadelphia a lot today. They got their ace going. The money line, they're projected to put almost 5 runs up today. And, hey, man, this lineup is stacked. You got McCutcheon coming in very cheap at $2,800. Harper less than $4,000. You always got to like him for the power and the stolen base upside that he gives you. Gregorius at $3,000. Hoskins. It's a very, very fair price team. I think this is a very good stack, and you definitely want to get some GPP exposure in. And one guy that's standing out to me for value, I really like Jay Bruce at $2,100. I think that's a steal for him. We know that Jay Bruce gives us double dong upside any night, and I think that Jay Bruce is definitely a premier value play on tonight's slate. But that's really where I'm at. I really do like I like all these guys for Philadelphia. I think they're a really good stack today.
When I look at playing DFS, when everybody zigs, I like to zag. And Jeremy said it perfectly. Aaron Nola's pitching tonight. Do we really want to go there? I'm going to go there with a full-blown Miami stack, the heart of the order, 1 through 4. You got Villar, $2,900. Brian Anderson, $2,500. Corey Dickerson, who rakes $2,500. And then Aguilar, betting cleanup for $2,300. That's a pretty dang cheap stack, and I'm rolling with that one tonight. I would have no qualms if anybody wanted to stack that 1 through 4 for Miami tonight.
Yeah, for sure. They've definitely gotten a lot better. Their roster is much improved for sure. Moving on, next game that we're going to talk about, we are going to go with Milwaukee going into Chicago to face the Cubs.
Oh, you threw me off. I had Kansas City next. All right, so Milwaukee. You got Brandon Woodruff. This guy has a lot of upside, in my opinion, and as far as strikeouts go. He didn't finish the season off like you would want him to, but they also kind of use him as an opener to, if you remember when they closed the season last year, where he would go 2 or 3 innings, and they wanted to kind of save and preserve his arm because he does have so much arm talent. But you look before that, last season, the guy was an innings eater. He, 6 2/3, 7 2/3, 6 innings, 7 innings. The guy can eat innings up, and he has a lot of strikeout upside, 10 to 12 strikeout upside. So, against the Cubs here, who, in my opinion, have a lot of question marks, a game that's, in Chicago, it is the middle of the summer. You have to kind of look and see what the weather is doing there. It can flip at any moment. And you can have the wind blowing in at 20 miles an hour. You can have the wind blowing out at 20 miles an hour. If it is one of those situations where we get wind blowing in at 20 miles per hour at 8,700 on an 11-game slate, you have to take a look at Brandon Woodruff. As far as the bats go, look, Christian Yelich, I think Christian Yelich may have a chip on his shoulder this season. There's a lot of talk about a lot of other players, and I think when this thing is all said and done, Christian Yelich is going to be the type of player that's like, hey, wait a minute. Don't forget about me, man. I'm still a reigning MVP. I'm still an award winner. I can still swing the bat. So there's some things removed from this lineup, some players that are removed from this lineup. They lost their catcher, didn't replace that. To me, it's Yelich as a one-off play. That's kind of the only spot I'm looking is to get from the Milwaukee side. Jed Jerko would be intriguing to me at 2,100 if he is in the starting lineup. The guy does have some pop, and I think for me the biggest question mark is around all of these Chicago Cubs pitching. So, I'm looking at Yelich as a one-off. He does have double dong upside. He can do just about all of it. And Jerko is an interesting play at 2,100 for value because he's got pop, familiar against the Cubs, having played in St. Louis before.
Yeah, I mean, on the Cubs side of things, I mean, we're only 2 games into today's slate, and the biggest theme that's really sticking out to me right now is a lot of people are pretty cheap right now. There's nobody crazy priced up. I mean, you can get the Cubs 1 through 4. You get Anthony Rizzo for 3,600, Chris Bryant for 3,400, Baez for 3,400. So I really like that 1 through 4 Cubs stack. I think that's somewhere that you can go, and I don't know if people are necessarily going to be on them today. I wouldn't even mind starting with Kipnis at the bottom of the order at the 9 spot at 2,500. I think Kipnis is a pretty solid value play. You can wrap it back around with Chris Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez as a GPP kind of contrarian stack. I like that as well. I do like some of these Cubs. I think, like I said, they are in play today, and I think that they're a team that's going to kind of go under the radar. So I think that they are a pretty good team to look at.
Yeah, given the fact that, as Jeremy said, Yelich could be a one-off, he is the second highest priced batter if you throw the pitchers aside. But in this game, when it comes to baseball DFS, I'm just looking for ABs, like the leadoff hitter all through the, to number 4. And both cleanup hitters in both games, Kyle Schwarber batting fourth, 2,800 beans, and then Ryan Braun batting fourth, $2,800. So if you need a guy who's going to get some ABs, might be in a position to knock in a couple runs, I'm going either one of those guys. As you said, Steph, fairly cheap right now. So get the cleanup batters for $2,800.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, today's going to be fun, man. Mix and match a bunch of stacks and kind of get after it a little bit for sure. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got the Kansas City Royals going into Cleveland to face the Indians.
For some reason, I like Kansas City. And look, Bieber has talent. I get it, right? 10-2 is a price tag on Bieber. The Indians are playing Duffy, and Chris mentioned earlier when everybody zigs, I like to zag. So, look, there's guys in this lineup like a Nicky Lopez. There's guys in this lineup like, Jorge Soler, Whit Merrifield. I like Kansas City. They've shown they can put runs on the board. Nobody is going to own Kansas City today. I like a 3-man stack. You could possibly look at Alex Gordon as if he can continue maybe some of the stuff he did last year. Alex Gordon had a really good season last year for his age. He's the perennial pro. He's loved by that franchise. I do not mind a Kansas City stack here against Bieber. I think it's really contrarian. And when you look from a pitching standpoint on tonight's slate with Verlander, Flaherty, Bieber as the top 3, on the flip side of it, I think that people will. I think Bieber, and you could talk about Cleveland, but I think Bieber will go under owned. I don't think people will load Bieber up because you look at Aaron Nola at 9,900 and Giolito at 9,500, and then Verlander's 11,200. I think those three guys will garner way more ownership than Bieber will. I just think this game is going to be maybe a little bit off the radar. People aren't high on Cleveland either, with the other excitement that's in that division.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with you with Bieber. I mean, the guy's a good pitcher. We've seen that. The guy definitely could pitch, and I'm not trying to take the easy way out, but for me, it's the same thing as the Cubs. I mean, you look at the heart of the order for Cleveland, 1 through 4. Cesar Hernandez coming in at 2,500. It gives you power upside, gives you stolen base upside. Jose Ramirez, 3,500. Lindor, we know Lindor is going to be an MVP candidate year in, year out at 3,800. And then you got Carlos Santana, who's just a professional hitter. So I think that, for me with the Cleveland, it really is just more the 1 through 4, heart of the order. But I do like that stack. I do like them against Danny Duffy. Danny Duffy, what was it, 2 years ago, I want to say? He had a really, really good year. And, everybody was, Danny Duffy's such a good pitcher. And he's kind of fell off the past couple of years. It is the first start of the season for him. So we got to kind of see, how he comes out, to start this season. But I do like this Cleveland stack. They got some professional hitters, 1 through 4. I'm going to have a couple of stacks with those guys for sure.
Well said. I'm not stacking either team in this one. I got two guys that are on my radar. Maikel Franco. I've had a soft spot for him for a while. For Kansas, he's with Kansas City now. He's batting 6. He's only $2,400. As the season progresses, I think he's going to rise in the batting order, which would be great, and his price will stay the same. And I have a donger prediction. Franmil Reyes for Cleveland, batting 5th, $2,700. Book it. He's going to hit a home run tonight.
Hey, good call. I was going back and forth on him, but I do like that call a lot.
We got a donger alert, Jeremy.
I just can't get over the fact that you said I got a donger.
We all do, right? As men.
Take it for what you want. Take it for what you want. All right, moving on. Next game, we got the game with the projected highest over and under on the slate. We talked about it before we got on. We like both sides of this game. You got Baltimore going into Boston to face the Red Sox. Get us started with that Boston side of things.
The first thing that I'm going to say is interesting is Evaldi at 7,100, and I don't want to just steal your thunder on Boston, but I have to point out that there's some cheap plays across the board in this game. And one thing that I would caution people on with looking at Evaldi is you look at Johnny Cueto last night, you look at Derek May last night. Both those guys went 4 innings. And we've talked at length about some of these baseball players. This is the longest break they've had probably since they were 15 or 16 years old. So, these guys maybe not in baseball shape, but you look at the freaking Yankees last night, it looks like the entire team went on the keto diet. Like they're all trim and in shape, right? The question mark here is Evaldi, right? He had a terrible season last year, and I think because of that, people are going to stack up Baltimore, which in my mind makes Evaldi like an ultimate contrarian GPP play on a very large slate. But the one thing you have to caution with is that he may only throw 60 pitches, and that may be 4 innings. But the guy we've seen Evaldi in the postseason pitch in 2 and 3 inning spurts and strike out like 7 guys over 3 innings, right? So Evaldi to me is like an ultimate GPP play. On the other side of it, the Baltimore side, there's a ton of cheap guys here in this if you want to stack them up. You look at Renato Nunez, Austin Hayes hitting leadoff at 2,400. Pedro Severino, we've seen him have some success. Hanser Alberto, Dwight Smith Jr., left-handed bat that we've seen have all kinds of success as well. And the one thing that I think bodes well for Baltimore is Evaldi really depends on the explosiveness of that fastball. He's a guy who's got a big arm who throws hard, and he depends on the explosiveness, which is like that late movement that gets on guys a little quicker than what it looks like. It's that last burst, right? If he has a flat fastball tonight, I think that some of these guys, like a Dwight Smith Jr. is a guy I like a ton at 2,200. If he's in that lineup, Austin Hayes at 2,400 leading off, that's a guy who can get on, swipe a bag, etc., especially if all these struggles to locate early. So Baltimore is extremely cheap. It's a high over-under. I think they'll be popular, but, I'll let you break Boston down. But for me, I wanted to mention Evaldi because I think he's the ultimate GPP play.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And you know what? On the Boston side of things, man, let's face it. Tommy Malone, he's a guy. Nothing on him, but every time I see him in as a starting pitcher, I'm always looking to attack him. He's not the most horrible pitcher, but he's a guy that gives up some run. He gives up hard contact. I'm really liking this Boston side of things. You got Andrew Benintendi coming through at the top of the order at 2,700. I think he's a very, very good value play. At 2,700, I would consider him a value play, especially for being at the top of the order. It's basically just it's a lot of the same Boston lineup outside of they don't got Betts no more. They've added guys like Peraza, who gives you some speed. You got Alex Verdugo in that lineup at 2,300. As a Dodger fan, I know what Alex Verdugo can do. He's a pretty good hitter. And then you got the three main guys, man. You got Andrew Bogarts, 3,600. JD Martinez, Rafael Devers, who really came on last year, had a monster year for them. I think that this Boston lineup is a team that you can look to stack a little bit. And you can possibly look at some of these guys in cash games because I do like attacking Tommy Malone, and they have the highest over/under on the slate. So definitely look to get some Boston in your lineup today. Especially I love Andrew Benintendi for cash. I think he's a really good play.
You want my donger alert? My donger alert for this game? We might have to. I wish we could put a effect on the screen for donger alert. I like that.
It would just flash like a comic book, like when Batman punches someone and go pow.
Yeah, exactly.
Donger.
Yeah. So Kevin Pillar, I left on right matchup. This guy's a professional hitter, man. I'm as a Giants fan so irritated that they let this guy go because he hit over 300 for him last year. I think he had more home runs for the Giants last year than any guy who would on their roster, and he came in at the trade deadline. So I think Pillar goes yard tonight with his new team, like left on right matchup, possibly hit at the bottom of that order. Very good value at 2,400 for a guy who gets on. He does everything. He gets on base, steals bases, plays great defense, walks, and he's got power.
Absolutely. So we've said it a few times here. I don't want to run it into the ground. Zig when others zag. I love the heart of Baltimore's order tonight. I'm going to skip Chris Davis batting third. I'm going to go 1, 2, 4, 5. So you have Austin Hayes leading off for $2,400. Anthony Santander batting second for $2,300. Nunez batting fourth for $2,400, and then Rio Ruiz batting fifth for $2,200. It's as cheap as it gets. Get him in there, and what's the worst that could happen? Because when you have such cheap players like that, with getting that many at bats, it's just DFS 101. You're able to sprinkle in those high price studs.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I don't want to. Hey, I'm sorry. I love Benintendi tonight. I love his price tag at 2,700. He's a guy that really standing out for me for Boston. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about. We got Colorado going into Texas to face the Rangers.
Herman Marquez, well, I'll start there, 8,200. I think that it's a good GPP play if you're doing, multiple entries. You look at really his last 7 starts of the season last year, and only one of those did he go less than 6 innings. The other 6 starts, he had 6 innings or more. And from a strikeout standpoint, he had double-digit strikeouts once, and he had 8 strikeouts, 9 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts, and the 10 strikeout game was against the Dodgers at Coors Field. So Marquez, a really good young arm. 8,200 is a good price tag for a guy with strikeout upside, a guy who can get lost on an 11-game slate. The bats, from that standpoint, it starts with Charlie Blackmon and Nolan Arenado, obviously, in this lineup. The one thing we don't know is how this ballpark is going to play in Texas. It's a new ballpark. You had just mentioned when we came on, you just forgot that they were in a new ballpark, and you were wanting to know if it was hot in Texas, and we're like, they're inside, right? I think everybody needs to be reminded that it's a new ballpark in Texas. We have no idea how this ballpark is going to play. They're going to be inside tonight. The weather not going to be a factor, so unless they've got the air conditioning on, blowing out to right field to duplicate that wind that they've had there in the past, we don't know how it's going to play. So from a home run kind of side of things, I don't know if there's a donger alert here, but the Rockies have guys like Charlie Blackmon and Nolan Arenado who are gap-to-gap hitters, and David Dahl, who's a gap-to-gap hitter. So also a guy who's in this lineup that's minimum price tag, who I like a lot tonight, is Matt Kemp. Projected to bat 7th, $2,000. Matt Kemp is not Matt Kemp is not Matt Kemp of the past, but he's still Matt Kemp. He's a solid baseball player, a guy who would get overlooked in a stack. So I don't mind, if you want to put a Rocky stack together, you need Blackmon, Arenado, need some value to go with it. I don't mind Matt Kemp and like David Dahl or Ramil Tapia going in that stack.
Yeah, I mean, on the Texas side of things, I mean, we'll start with the pitcher, Lance Lynn. Past couple of years, he's had a couple of decent seasons at 8,300. I think he's a mid-tier guy that you can look at. I don't know if he has tremendous upside for you, but I think that he's going to give you a pretty solid floor. It'll help you kind of stack up some of these higher price stacks. And like I said, he's going to probably be lower owned. I'm not saying he's anywhere near my favorite pitcher today. I just think he's somebody you could definitely consider in GPPs. Outside of him, I mean, I'm really liking, you got Shin Soo Choo at the top of the order at 2,700. Alvis Andrews, 2,800. I think that both of those guys are coming in a little bit underpriced. And then you got Joey Gallo, 3,500, double dong upside any night. I think that he's a guy that you can really look at that's in play. I'm not really crazy high on this Texas team compared to some other teams we've talked about in the past couple games, but I definitely think that you can look at Texas coming in as a lower owned team that probably can help you differentiate yourself a little bit.
I got two guys I want to mention, and they're both on the Colorado Rockies team. Now, normally I pay no mind to like the number 8 and 9 hitters normally, but Ramil Tapia is batting 8th tonight, and he's $2,300. And then you could start normally that first base catcher kind of combination that they have on FanDuel. It's a weird spot because you can start a first baseman for $4,000, or you can go the catcher route for $2,000. So today I'm going to put Tony Walters in my catcher spot. He's batting 9th, and he's $2,200. From a baseball standpoint, not fantasy, just a seasonal baseball fan kind of guy. I love Tapia, and he's going to be Colorado's starting left fielder this season. So I have my eye on him for seasonal and also DFS. If he's going to stay around that $2,000 to $2,500 range, I love it. He's a speedster. He gets on base, and then every once in a while he hits a sneaky home run. So it's kind of a great value to me tonight. Tapia and Tony Walters, just that combination, because we all know Nolan and Story. We know what they do. They cost a ton of money, but they're at premium position. So find those cheap guys, as we keep telling you, and then you're able to slot Nolan Arenado in after you've already set up your line if you're looking for a stud third baseman.
Yeah, for sure. And, the thing about Tapia is they like Tapia. He was a really good player when they were banged up a little bit last year. Tapia came in and became the everyday guy. And they had him at the top of the order. He was batting leadoff for a lot of the year. So that just kind of tells you the confidence that they do have in him. I think that is a great call. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Minnesota going into Chicago to face the White Sox. And you know what's crazy is we brought up the White Sox the other day as being a sneaky team. I was watching the Dodger game yesterday, and they were talking about the White Sox. The White Sox have a lot of hype right now, and Minnesota as well. They're a really good team also. So I think it's going to be a pretty fun game. So go ahead and get us started with the Minnesota side of things.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. This is easy for me. For me, and you guys, if you guys got insight you want to break down on the Minnesota side, go ahead. But for me, I'm fading Minnesota, and I'll break it down as simple as this. My favorite pitcher on this slate is Lucas Giolito. If you want to take a look at Lucas Giolito really quick, here's the reason why this is a full fade for me. One, I think this is my favorite. Chris, is this who I picked as my favorite guy to win the Cy Young on our award show out of the AL?
I did it first, and then you copied me.
I think if you check the tape, that was like, anyway. But if you just look at Giolito's, the way he closed the season, August to September, he had 13 strikeouts once. He had double-digit strikeouts 4 times. One of those outings was against Minnesota, where he struck out 12 in Minnesota, and then he followed that back up in his next start by striking out 9. He's not scared of this lineup. I know they've added some pieces like Josh Donaldson, etc., but I'm fading Minnesota today, and I mean, for lack of a better term, I guess I'm all in on Giolito.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I really do like Giolito. I think he's a great call today. Just to kind of touch back on the Minnesota side of things, I like Jose Barrios as well. I don't think that necessarily today is his day, going against a stacked White Sox lineup. But we know that Barrios is a really good pitcher, so I don't know if I'm going to go crazy with the White Sox today. But I mean, you look at their lineup, though, you got Anderson, Moncada, Abreu, Jimenez, Grandal. When you got Encarnacion and Mazara hit 6 and 7, that's when you know that you got a pretty stacked lineup. So I don't know if I'm necessarily going to go crazy with the White Sox today going against Barrios. I got respect for Barrios, but in the future, the White Sox are going to be somebody that I'm going to look at. And just like I'm saying that I like Barrios and I'm not going to really play the White Sox, they may go a little bit on their own today. And they got a tremendous upside in that lineup any night. The pitchers right now, they're not pitching 100 pitches. They're going to pitch 70 or 80 pitches. So Barrios may only be out after four to 5 innings, and the White Sox can explode in the later innings. So definitely, like I said, it's not my – I'm going to go crazy with the White Sox today, but I could see that stack. I really do like the Giolito call going against Minnesota. Minnesota does have tremendous power upside, but they also got a lot of swing and misses in that lineup, and he could definitely rack up some strikeouts.
One guy I want to mention, and it should be flashing lights, and keep an eye on him, Luis Robert, their stud rookie prospect. He's in the lineup tonight. He's batting 7th. It's not the most desirable spot in the lineup, but he's only $2,300 on FanDuel. Today and today only is the cheapest you'll ever get him for the rest of his career. I'm telling you now. So slot him in and don't even think twice. And last guy I want to mention is on the Minnesota side of the ball. Max Kepler is leading off tonight, and he's only $2,800. I expect his price to skyrocket after a couple games. So just a couple one-offs there. Luis Robert is going to be in my lineups in all formats tonight, no doubt. Donger alert. There it is.
And that's one guy that I don't know. So is he a power guy or is he a speed guy or?
He's all of it.
He's
He's a 5-tool stud prospect. Yes.
So he's the next Bellinger then? Is that what you're saying?
He's the next kind of, Mike Trout, Bellinger kind of guy. Acuna, all that steals. Hits for average, hits for
by the way,
power.
By the way, they also have your boy Andrew Vaughn sitting there.
Yep.
For sure.
He's their starting first baseman of the future. It's not even a question, but he's only 19.
Let me ask you guys this. Before we move on from this game, let me ask you guys this. At first base, right, in this game, if you're taking the White Sox side of things, who do you can play 2 of them, obviously, one in your catcher first base spot and one in your utility spot. But you've got Abreu, Grandal, and Encarnacion that are possibly all in that lineup. Who if you pick 2, who are the 2 you're going to go with?
I'm going Grandal and Jose Abreu, just because you know what I'd like to start all 3, and then I made the decision because of the batting order. Abreu's batting 3rd, Grandal's batting 5th, and Edwin is batting 6th. It's not a big deal, but when it's that close of a decision for me, those are the factors. And they're all Grandal and Encarnacion are $3,100 on FanDuel, and Abreu's $3,200. So it's not breaking the bank when you got a guy like Trout or Yelly at $4,400 or $4,500.
Yeah, no, I definitely would go with Abreu. He would be my first choice in the batting order. The guy's just a really good hitter. I seen him a couple of bats, when I was watching their preseason game, and he looked pretty good. So I think that Abreu is a guy I would go with. And then when it comes to Encarnacion and Grandal, it's more of just a coin flip. In reality, same price tag. They both give you the same upside. So I like both guys. That one is a little bit more of a tougher choice for me. But I definitely do like Abreu a lot right there in the 3-hole. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about. We got Pittsburgh going into St. Louis to face the Cardinals.
There's not a lot to like here outside of really Josh Bell and maybe Colin Moran on the Pittsburgh side of things. When you take a look, Josh Bell 3 for 12 with 2 doubles in his lifetime against Flaherty. Flaherty is clearly going to be one of the top 3 or 4 pitchers on the slate tonight. So this isn't. I know we've mentioned a couple times Zig Brothers Zag, but this is not, in my opinion, one of those places to kind of zag and go off the board. If you want to, throw Josh Bell out there at 3,400 as a one-off, Jose Osuna at 2,200 if you needed a value play, kind of one-off guy, was upside in a deep tournament with multiple entries. I wouldn't have a problem with that, or even a Colin Moran at 2,300 if you wanted a one-off play with some upside that was off the board to differentiate yourself. I don't have a problem with that, but I mean, it's pretty much a fade in my opinion for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, on the Cardinal side of things, it's nothing that really, really crazy jumps out to me neither. I do like Carpenter at 2,500. I think that, he's a professional hitter. He's a guy that you can look at in that 2-hole as a really good value guy. He's a guy that takes walks and can hit value for you if we're kind of talking more cash game consideration. Colton Wong as well at 2,500. Leading off, I think those guys are definitely in play. The only other two guys that I would mention for the Cardinals, I mean, you can look at Dexter Fowler. Dexter Fowler's coming in really, really cheap, at 2,400, and he has some good numbers for his career against Musgrove. The guy's 6 for 13, 2 doubles, a home run, and a triple. So I think that he's a guy you can look at. Also, you got Paul Goldschmidt batting 500 in his career against Musgrove and 14 at bats as well. So those guys they got some pretty good numbers, small sample size, but they obviously see the ball well. And that's really where I'm at with the Cardinals. Like you said, this game is not too much of an exciting game. I think it's going to be, 3 to 4, 2 to 3, something like that. I don't think it's going to be too high scoring.
Well, I respectfully disagree.
Me too.
I love a St. Louis stack today, the 1 through 4. Colton Wong's leading off at 2,500 beans. Tommy Edmonds batting second at $2,700. Goldie third at $3,500, and then you got DeJong at a premium position of shortstop for $2,800. It's perfectly priced. It's not too cheap, and it's not extremely expensive. You can stack the heart of the St. Louis order and then fill in the rest of your lineup elsewhere. So I love 1 through 4 for St. Louis today. I am stacking St. Louis in any and all formats on my teams today.
St. Louis is the perfect stack to go with the more expensive stacks. Like I know Boston's fairly priced, but Boston, the Dodgers when we get to them, they're not going to be as cheap, and they're going to have a high implied run total going against Jeff Samardzija. So to me, St. Louis is the perfect team with all of the upside. I mean, you talk about a Tyler O'Neill, you talk about the bottom. I know you talk about the top, but even if you look at the bottom of this, we know Tyler O'Neill's got pop. We know Tommy Edmonds got pop, and we know Harrison Bader's got pop. Also, Paul DeJong, he's got pop. Matt Carpenter, in my opinion, I think Matt Carpenter, he didn't have a great season last year, right? Matt Carpenter didn't live up to expectations last year. I think Matt Carpenter is going to rebound. I think Matt Carpenter wasn't fully healthy last year. And then the question mark here is going to be who's going to protect, Goldschmidt. You look and you kind of think about Paul DeJong and, Yadi Molina. You want to talk about professional hitter, Yadi Molina, professional hitter. I love St. Louis. They're extremely cheap. I think they can put up 6 to 7 runs tonight, especially against Pittsburgh. Doesn't have anything, man. They don't have starting pitching. They don't have a bullpen. They just don't have anything. They've traded pieces away, and they've lost some pieces. They subtract some pieces as well too. So I think this is one of my favorite stacks. I hope they continue to fly under the radar today, and I think you pair them. They pair perfectly with the Houstons, the Dodgers, and the Red Sox.
Okay.
But in this game, my favorite play is Tommy Edman batting second. He looks to be their starting everyday third baseman given the shortened season, and it's just too sweet for me. Nobody ever talks about Tommy Edman, and his batting average is always over 300. RBIs will be there, home runs. He's got sneaky power. So today, Tommy Edman is one of my if not my favorite plays at the position.
Got you. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna have to look at that a little bit more, reconsider that. But they are coming in cheap. That's one thing I do like for sure. Moving on, next game we're gonna talk about, we got Arizona going into San Diego to face the Padres.
Yeah, for me, it starts really with the Marte connection with Ketel Marte and Starling Marte. I like both those guys. I think Cole Calhoun at 2,500 in a couple of exhibition games against the Dodgers, he hit leadoff. We saw him hit at the top of the order in Arizona. If they're going to run him out, right now he's projected as 6 in that lineup. But if he does happen to hit the leadoff spot at 2,500, I don't have a problem with that. Chris Paddock, another guy that's a really good pitcher who's kind of on the verge of things, but has shown that he can get, he can get blown up. We don't know how many innings this young arm is going to throw tonight. And to me, if I'm looking at Arizona, I'm looking at a mini stack, and it would be really around Ketel Marte, Starling Marte, David Peralta, and kind of getting two of those guys paired with another stack. And the perfect spot to do that, we just talked about St. Louis and being able to pair them with some of these bigger stacks. If you're going to be different and run a 4-man St. Louis stack, you could run 3 position players with Faraday, and then you'll need a one-off or 2 other guys from another team. And to me, I don't mind getting some exposure to Ketel Marte. I think Ketel Marte is going to have an enormous season in Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, on the Houston side of things, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. You gotta I'm sorry. I'm over here. I'm skipping games. I'm over looking ahead. Yeah, so on the Padres side of things, I mean, Chris Paddock, he's a young guy that's definitely shown us some upside. In these past year or two, he's a guy that you can look at 8,900 right there in that middle tier if we're not going to pay up for pitching. I think that he's a guy that gives us some strikeout upside there. If we're talking about the bats, there's some bats to look at. You got a Tatis 3,300, some power upside, some stolen base upside. Pham, we know Tommy Pham. He's kind of been bouncing around the past couple years, St. Louis, with the Rays last year, but he's a guy that he gets in that lineup because he constantly is just hitting the ball. Machado, 3,000, very cheap. Hosmer, 2,800, got the big contract a couple years ago, coming in fairly cheap. And then Will Myers. Will Myers, we talk about professional hitters. Will Myers is one of those guys at 2,500. It gives us some power upside, gives us some stolen base upside. I don't necessarily want to pick on Madison Bumgarner today, but these guys, Padres do have some guys coming in cheap that are in spots. At least, any of these guys could get one today. Especially you got Machado, who hits lefties pretty good. Will Myers as well. Tommy Pham as well. So Padres, I think they're a team that you can look at. Maybe probably get a one-off more than anything for me.
So here's my thing and my thought process when it comes to San Diego today. So Tatis is leading off, then it's Pham, then Manny, and then as you said, Will Myers is cleaning that lineup up, and he's only $2,500. Tatis, Pham, and Manny, they get on base, right? So if you have Will Myers in there, he changed his swing, like the approach to his swing, and he was on absolute fire in the spring training, and then again recently in summer camp. So I've said it a few times already, even as early as yesterday. I have a soft spot for Will Myers, and he's in a very sweet spot today and the rest of the season if he's going to be batting cleanup for that cheap. And then on the Arizona side of the ball, nothing crazy. I like Carson Kelly at catcher. He's batting 9th. He's $2,500. Just you have to play. Well, you don't have to play a catcher, but if you want to, I'd go Carson Kelly.
I'm a little distracted. I know you guys, when we jumped on the video, you guys gave me a hard time. Chris gave me a hard time yesterday. Steph today, that I look like the baby face with no facial hair. But I'm looking at the comments.
I'm not Blake Griffin.
People think that Stephen is Blake Griffin. Like, is that Blake Griffin or is that Stephen?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, I like it.
Just really quick, I just want to kind of recap. Obviously, I'm the more the cash guy. I look for extreme values where I'm at. We just mentioned I love Will Myers at 2,500 right here. I think that he's a guy underpriced. He's going to help you get some big bats, or if you want to pay it for pitching, he's a guy that you can really look at in cash games today. And I also think that you can really look him and Benintendi at the top of that Boston order at 2,800. I really, really like both of those guys. I think that they're really, really good cash game plays. Those guys are standing out to me. I love the price tag on them, and I love the upside that they bring for sure. Moving on.
Being a Giants fan, I'll tell you right now that Will Myers, I like that call by both you guys. He's had a lot of success against Madison Bumgarner in the past, and then going back to last season, watching Machado, Tatis, and Will Myers ruin Madison Bumgarner's start. So that would be the 3-man stack that I would put together on the Padres side of it.
Yeah, I just want to kind of to flip this. So I got the numbers up. So Will Myers necessarily hasn't had the best success on Madison Bumgarner. He is 8 for 47, but when he hits them hard. He has 2 doubles and 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases. So the upside is there if he runs into one. And just like Chris said, he switched his swing. He's coming up to the plate with a different approach. I like Will Myers a lot today. definitely think that he has a dong upside today. Not going to make the call, but I think that it's there. The upside definitely is there. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Seattle going into Houston to face the Astros.
There's a guy in this lineup that I know you have, Steph, you probably have a little bit of interest in. Would probably have more cash game interest in him if he wasn't going against Verlander. But Malik Smith is a guy that we have used in cash games for the last 3 years because of the fact that if the guy just walks, he can steal second and third base, and you've got you've got 15 points right there out of a guy who's usually minimum price. He's $2,500 a day. Malik Smith 9 as a one-off play for cash game purposes. I don't mind getting some exposure to him. And again, this is not a confirmed lineup. Malik Smith could be at the top of this lineup when it confirms. If that's the case, you got to like him. It's a guy who gets on base. He finds a way to get on base. He's extremely fast. He's one of those guys that can get you, 15 points. I want to say that one of the tournaments I took down last year, I had Malik Smith, and the reason I took the tournament down was because he got on in the 7th inning with a walk and stole second and stole third. I believe that was against the Rangers in Seattle. So that's just what he does. As far as the rest of this lineup goes, outside of really J.P. Crawford, Kyle Seager, and Dan Vogelbach, a lot of people have no clue who some of these guys are. Shed Long got some experience last year. D. Gordon is also still on this roster. But this is not a team to me today that you need to load up.
Yeah, no, I mean, the only other guy that I would mention on the Seattle side of things is Kyle Seager. I like Kyle Seager if he's going to be in that lineup today. The guy has good numbers for his career off of Justin Verlander, 10 for 36, 3 doubles, 4 home runs, batting 280. So I think that he's a guy that you could possibly look at. And then, hey, man, I honestly do not know what you guys want me to say about Houston. They got one of the top pitchers going on today's slate, Justin Verlander. Their lineup is absolutely stacked. And on top of their lineup being absolutely stacked, we got 1, 2, 3. We got 7 of their hitters that are possibly going to be in their lineup today, batting over 330 for their career against Marco Gonzalez, the left-hander. They got guys that absolutely crush left-handers. You got Altuve, you got Correa, you got Bregman, Gurriel. These guys just absolutely crush left-handers. Even Josh Reddick. Josh Reddick, he's a lefty-on-lefty matchup, but he's a guy that, if he's going to be in that lineup, he's a guy that hits left-handers fairly well as well. So, I mean, I'm really, really liking Houston. It's simple. You load them up with some of those cheaper stacks we've been talking about. The Cardinals. You can look at the Cubs coming in pretty cheap. We're going to need those cheaper stacks, but definitely love Houston. They're one of the top stacks today. I want to try to get some stacks any way possible is where I'm at with Houston. I love them today.
You know better than anybody that for me, I feel that one of the most overrated stats in daily fantasy sports is BVP. A lot people put so much emphasis on BVP, but I think it has its place. I'm not saying that it's not a stat worth looking into. It is. I just think people will go and only look at BVP and they'll build their lineup solely on that. And guys like me capitalize on that because you don't know what happened on that day. And a guy could be, he could be 3 for 5 against one pitcher. And people are like, oh, he's 3 for 5 with a home run. Okay, well, that was just one day. Right. It wasn't. But I will mention and go back to – I just want to make sure that I emphasize this when I talk about Seattle. If you're going to play a one-off and you want a one-off play for Seattle on this side, it is Kyle Seager, and the only reason I would do it is because of the BVP. He's 10 for 36 with 4 bombs and 3 doubles in his career against Verlander. We know he's a professional hitter. We know he can hit fastball. We know Verlander's a power pitcher. So if that's the one guy on the Seattle side that I would say you could use as a one-off, I wanted to clear that up because I talked so much about Malik Smith. I wanted to make sure that I did mention Seager and do it justice. Seager could win a tournament tonight and be 4% owned on an 11-game slate with a bomb and a double off Verlander, and Verlander could still strike out. Like last night, I said in my deep dive, is it with the wind blowing out and Nationals Park, I've talked for years about if the temperature is above 90 degrees there, it's a different ballpark. It's 2 runs per game higher than if it's below 90 degrees. And I said, can Garrett Cole or Max Scherzer get unlucky and give up a home run to right field where the wind was blowing out? First inning, what happens? Adam Eaton goes yard to right field. The same thing can happen here for Verlander, right? I mean, he can get unlucky and just get beat on a fastball by Kyle Seager, who sees him really well.
And like you say it's not too big of an emphasis on BVP, but you got a larger sample size. 36 at bats is not like it's, like you said, a 3 for 5, and that's what we're looking at. It is a bigger sample size. I really do like Kyle Seager. I think he is a great play today.
I like what you said, Jeremy, but instead of Seager, I firmly believe it's going to be Evan White, who hits his first professional major league home run tonight. He's batting second, $2,700 in his first or second at bat, just like Eaton did yesterday. The kid is a blue chip prospect. And what I don't understand is he's $2,700, but you got a guy like we mentioned, Luis Robert, who's batting 7th, and he's only $2,300. So it's one of those cases where what does FanDuel or DraftKings know that we don't know, right? Because as far as prospect lists are concerned, Roberts is far and away better than Evan White. And another thing I'm shocked about, none of you guys mentioned Kyle Lewis on the Seattle side of the ball. He's batting 4th. He's only $2,400. He's been absolutely locked in. He just hit he had a double donger game as recently as last Friday. So he's locked in at the plate right now. And JV or not, we know JV throws hard and fast, but guys can get on top of one and they hit it out of the park. So I'm not saying Lewis hits a home run tonight. I'm saying I'm locking Evan White as a home run tonight, but I love that simple little stack, 2 and 4, Evan White and Kyle Lewis for what you'd get them for $2,700 and $2,400.
I watched Verlander in the MLB network, kind of, what do they call that? Their park cam. I watched the inter squad game that he threw. I believe he threw against the Rangers also, and he looks better than he did last year. He looks like he's in better shape, and I can't emphasize this enough. For pitchers especially, these guys haven't had this type of time off to get their body healed and in shape like they've had before. And a power pitcher like Verlander, who's at the very tail end, his best days are probably behind him, or they're coming to an end soon, right? He's got more years behind him than he does in front of him. I think Verlander is going to dominate, man. And I think that what nobody is talking about, because we are removed 3 months. This Houston team, there's a lot of shit. They've got something to prove, man. I think they've got something to prove that they can win without stealing everybody's signs.
They're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder. I definitely agree with you there, for sure. Moving on. Oh yeah, we're getting to the best team in the league right here. We got the Giants going into LA to face the Dodgers for the second game of the season.
I'm a little, just to bring this up before we get going, I'm a little worried that we thought it was weird that Kershaw, well, you and I had a conversation that Kershaw was the one, and you thought Buehler should be, and I said to you, Kershaw's their one till he's not. Yesterday, late scratch, he's got a back issue. I assumed, I'm sure you did as well, it would be Buehler today. It's Stripling.
Right.
I don't know what's going on there, but just something to maybe keep an eye on. It. Hopefully Buehler's fine. Right. They're not going to keep pushing him back. I don't know what you want me to say here. There are guys for value that you can roll out. I think the Giants last night showed that they can be pesky for a while. I don't know that they're going to have enough pop in this lineup to generate enough runs to be competitive night in and night out. But on any given night, I think that there are a few guys you could look at, Alex Dickerson being one of them, Mike Yastrzemski being another, Austin Slater if he's in that lineup. Those are really 3 guys that I think they're the best 3 overall baseball players in the Giants roster, as far as they've got power, they can hit for average, they can get on base, they can walk, so they can produce points. Outside of that, you're taking a gamble on a Pablo Sandoval, Brandon Crawford, Hunter Pence. It's a gamble. And in this situation on 11-game slate, there's really no reason to load up the Giants tonight against Stripling.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I actually like Stripling at 6,600. I think Stripling's a guy that could come in and I'm not saying, one thing, I'm going to make one thing very clear. It's worrying me, especially like a Verlander, for example. It's the first game of the season. They're not going to push these pitchers to the limit. Yesterday was a perfect example of that. But at 6,600, I definitely think that you can look at Stripling. If he gives us 5 innings and he ends up getting a win, I think he can get you, he can get you value, get you a little bit more than value. And at 6,600, you can load up some of the stacks that we've been talking about. You can even get a couple of these Dodgers in there. You gotta like the Dodgers going against Jeff Samardzija. The wind is blowing out at Dodger Stadium tonight. Last night they were quiet for a long time, and then all of a sudden they put up a quick 7 runs. I mean, that's how it's going to be all year. You got this lineup is just so loaded. I love basically everybody in this lineup. You got Betts, Muncy, Turner, Bellinger, Seager, Peterson. Peterson's a guy at 3,000. I think that he's coming in really cheap. You can look at him. Justin Turner batting in that 3-hole at 3,000. I think that he's a really, really good price tag. Seager 3,200 is a good price tag. And then all year is going to be the debate. Do we want to pay for Betts that night, or do we want to pay for Bellinger that night? Tonight, you got the lefty-righty matchup going against Jeff Samardzija. I think that tonight, I'm probably going to have to go with Bellinger. The Bellinger does have a home run in his career off Jeff Samardzija. Like I said, Jock Peterson's a guy that I'm really liking tonight. But you can load up all these Dodgers. I mean, it's a pretty simple task when you're talking about the Dodgers, when you're talking about teams like Houston, even when you're talking about teams like the Yankees. They're so loaded. Any given night, they're all basically going to be in play.
I yesterday, and in the bottom of the barrel special opening day edition, I said I'm stacking San Francisco, the Giants, and it didn't happen last night. So what? I was a day early on it. I'm going back to the well tonight. I'm going 1 through 4 with the Giants tonight. Mike Yaz, Pence batting second, Wilmer Flores third, Dickerson 4. You can roster all 4 guys for only $9,000. So 4 of those guys, 1 through 4, cost less than a handful of the pitchers on today's slate. So again, it's not sexy. No one's looking into it because they're playing the Dodgers, and there's how many games tonight? So I'm going San Francisco tonight, 1 through 4.
It almost did happen. I mean, it almost happened, and
they had them on the road a couple times.
I'll plug my deep dive podcast that I do every day, taking a deeper look into things. If you listen to that yesterday, the one thing about that, I picked Johnny Cueto, and I had Johnny Cueto in like 25% of my lineups last night, and the reason I did was because the Dodgers are going to beat the crap out of straightforward pitchers. And you can break down hitting to the easiest element of it's about balance. And if you can get a lineup off balance, you're going to have success. And the reason that happened, that game played out the way it did last night, is Johnny Cueto, who doesn't come from the same arm slot consecutively, who doesn't have the same motion consecutively, and he has no problem starting off with a slider. He has no problem starting off with a curveball. Right? He's not fastball first guy, but he can be, right? So he kept them off balance enough to keep the Giants in that game, and the Giants were really just a couple of hits away from putting up good points last night with like a Yastrzemski or a Dickerson, right? So I like the call, Chris. I do like the call. I would caution this. If you remember Stripling, he opened up last year ending the season. He was going 1 inning, maybe 2 innings. I don't know if you use Stripling today. I know it's a competition for this kind of 5th spot in the rotation. And now with Kershaw going to DL, maybe that solidifies, Derek May pitched last night. Maybe it solidifies Stripling is going to start for them right now. But he hasn't actually started. He pitched a simulated game on Sunday. I don't know how many innings he goes today. It could be a 3-inning situation, and then they're in their bullpen again. You just don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's what I'm kind of like, but I mean, if he can get you 5 innings though at 6,600, that's kind of where the GPP side would come in. You're baking out and you can load.
The other thing I want to mention really quick is FanDuel has removed Samardzija from the confirmed spot, and I have to look, and I can do that while we're on the next game, but I don't know if Samardzija's starting now. We need to find that out. I don't know if Samardzija is starting tonight. They may be starting a reliever and using an opener. We'll have to look into that. But I do notice that Samardzija is not in the confirmed. FanDuel on the bottom of the thing, you can only show probable. He's not on there any longer. It's just the only pitcher in this game is Stripling.
Yeah, no, I did see that as well. Yeah, no, for sure. And just I'm not trying to keep him on for the Giants though. I like the guy at the top of the order. I don't want to butcher his name, and you give me a hard time. How do you say it?
Yastrzemski.
His grandfather isn't he a Hall of Famer? He played for Boston all those years.
Yeah, they were talking about last night. You have your grandfather's name. Why don't you use his same number? He's already got enough pressure having his name on my back. I don't need his number as well. So I like him. I like Dickerson. He's a professional hitter, and he's a guy. I think that's a really good call. I like those two guys. Moving on, final game of the night that we're going to talk about. We got the Angels going into Oakland to face the A's.
And we've talked about these two teams at length over the last couple of days. I think this is going to be a really good game to watch tonight, and it's going to be, I think, a good indicator on how this division might play out, right? We know about Houston. We know they've got something to prove, et cetera. But the Angels making a couple of moves, obviously, in the offseason. They've got Ohtani back. But when you look at this thing, and my thoughts on the biggest weakness of the Angel team is the corner outfielder spots, right? You've got Justin Upton still there, and plus you've got Albert Pujols as your starting first baseman. Still can hit, but still very, very, very long in the tooth, right? This is about Mike Trout. Mike Trout is a great one-off play on any given night. We'll have to see what the deal with Anthony Rendon is, but to me, it's a two-man stack, maybe three. If you're going to load the Angels up, it's Trout, it's Ohtani, and then La Stella. I think La Stella is at $2,700 in the leadoff spot. Is a little bit more expensive from some of the other guys that are in a leadoff spot that we've mentioned. But if you want to put a three-man Angel stack together, be Trout, Ohtani, La Stella for me. We'll have to see what happens with Rendon. He's dealing with an oblique injury. He says he's good to go, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, on the Angel side of things, the Angels are they're that team that they don't have the absolute stud, big time name guys, but they have a lot of really, really good guys. I mean, that's really where we're at. Just a kind of quick talk about the pitcher. Montes definitely showed us glimpses of being a really good pitcher last year. I think that he's a guy you could possibly look at in GPPs. I don't know if today's his day. As we talked about, Angels are a really, really good team with some really good hitters in there. But later down the line, he's somebody that we could possibly consider. 7,600 if you want to throw him in a couple of GPP lineups, just so you kind of get some late game exposure. If you're not going to get some from either either the Angels or the A's, hitting side of things, I think you could throw him in a couple lineups and have him kind of go as a GPP strictly pitcher. And then the hitters. You're looking at Simeon, had a really good year last year, batting at the top of the order. Chapman, Olsen, Chris Davis coming in at 2,700. I think he's underpriced, batting in that cleanup spot. He should have some RBI opportunities. I'm liking this A's lineup. I think that you can look at them kind of as a late game kind of hammer stack.
What's my rule, Steph? What's my number one rule?
You got to have somebody from the late game.
It's my favorite stack of the day, bro. My favorite stack of the day is the Oakland A's.
Yeah, no, I like him, and like I said, I mean, even Simeon at 3,500, their most expensive hitter, it's still a very fair price for Simeon. They're coming in cheap, and I think that you can get the A's. You can get an A's with the Houston, or A's with the Dodgers, or A's with the Boston stack, and still get a fairly solid pitcher in there. I think that the price tag is fair enough where you can work it that route for sure.
Yeah, before we even started the broadcast, we were people that are watching now live or will watch, later on today, just wrapping it up and brainstorming with each other. And Oakland was one of my favorite stacks tonight, and it's just 1 through 4. I don't want to hammer it home, but just real quick, Simeon is first, $3,500. It's a little bit more pricey than some of the other stacks we've named, and then Chapman is second at 33. Olsen is 3,300, batting third, and then Chris Davis is the cheapest of all of them, which is wild because he has just as much power as Chapman or Olsen does for $2,700. So again, I got the Oakland stack. When we're done with the broadcast, hang here. I'll tweet out what the sample lineup I was toying with while we were doing the broadcast.
Yeah, for sure. And
I like Chris. I like all of them, and I just want to make sure 1 through 4. awesome. But I mean, I don't really think people realize how deep Oakland is. Right. 1 through 4, you've got the big names there, right? But you still got Mark Canha, Steven Piscotty, who he just hit a home run in an exhibition game a couple of days ago, a bomb. Laureano, right? I like all of these guys, and you look at Haney, and if I know we put BVP, in my opinion, is not a big stat, but Haney had a start against these guys last year where he gave up 6 runs. So, I mean, and if you look at Montez on the other side of it, he had 3 starts against the Angels last year, where I think he had 17 strikeouts over those 3 starts and only gave up 5 earned runs, so combined. So, to me, I can't say enough. My 2 rules, if you take nothing away from me and don't listen to my deep dive or visit our content, if you're going to take a tournament down, you better have exposure to the last game on the slate so you don't get passed by. That's kind of rule number 1. And you have to figure out ways to be different and figure out what everybody else is going to do and then what you think is going to happen. And to me, I think that tonight you're going to see Montez deliver a gem. I think that Oakland – this can't be overlooked either. And it may seem like a small detail, but if you watch I know you guys watched the game last night, but if you saw the interview with Chapman – the Oakland Athletics are so thrilled that the Raiders are gone and that they finally have a real locker room. That to me is something that's a big deal also, just for the psychology and looking forward. If you have a rat hole locker room, you're not looking forward to going to the ballpark every single day like they had. Their locker room had rats in it and bad carpet and all this other stuff. And now they're talking about they've got this monster locker room that's clean and they're enjoying it. So this is my favorite team, and you have to get exposure to some of this game in some form of fashion if you plan on taking something down.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that if anything, if you do nothing else, at least get a little bit of Chris Davis at 2,700. He's cheap, double dong upside. He could be the difference of you not even cashing to you jumping into a bunch of money. And I just think it's a very fair price tag for him for sure. So, I mean, I think that's really where we're at, man. Hey, sorry, didn't mean to ramble on too long. We're excited. Baseball's back. Podcast a little bit longer than we anticipated, but hey, I feel like we got you guys some good news. We'll work on shortening it up. If you guys got any questions, hit us in the comment section down below. We'll get to those questions as soon as possible. And hey, man, good luck on your guys' contest today. Full slate today, 11 games. I'm excited just to sit down and watch some baseball tonight. And I think right now they got the first week of MLB TV absolutely free. You can check all the different games out. Hey, I'm excited for tonight. Good luck, guys. Hey, thank you guys for jumping on here. Make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, see you guys later. Peace out.